work, but we're now on the road to Amarillo. Cue song. It's the way to Amarillo. Okay, we're in downtown Montgomery, and the first place we're looking at is the first White House of the Confederacy. So when the American Civil War began, I guess this became the White House of the southern states. But we're going to go inside and have a look around. Obviously it's quite tiny. And this is Jefferson Davis's bedroom in the Confederate White House. This is Jefferson Davis's bedroom with steps to get into bed. Alison taking a picture there. Looking through to another living room, I think. This is the first parlour. And looking to the front of the house and coming through the various parlours through to what's set up now as a dining room. And this is the study at the back of the house, where presumably meetings and various things to do with southern government would have taken place, and that was Alison sneezing. This is a guest bedroom at the front of the house. Very nice. If this was on booking.com, we'd be okay. Montgomery is the state capital of Alabama, so it has a Capitol building. So we've just come out of the first White House of the Confederacy and now heading towards the state Capitol building. Well, we're inside the Senate building, and that's looking down, I think it's called Davis Avenue. Davis for Jefferson Davis. Looking down, we're at the top floor, and there's a kind of double spiral staircase coming up. As you can see, I'm going to go on through now to seeing what I think are the Senate and representative rooms. The Senate chamber during what looks to be perhaps the Confederate years. And this is the old treasurer's office. Seems to still be a working office. So this is now the front of the Capitol building, and it looks down that big wide street that you saw earlier. In fact, I got it wrong, it's not Davis Avenue, it's Dexter Avenue, and this is where the Selma to Montgomery marchers came up and basically finished on the steps of the Capitol building, with Martin Luther King delivering a speech. This is the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King was the pastor at the time of the Montgomery bus boycott, and then he moved on from here to do all of his civil rights effort. If I just swing round, you can see how close it is to the Capitol building, and on the ground are footprints representing the march which finished just up at the steps, and that's looking down Dexter Avenue again, which is the direction we're heading now. And this is a memorial with a timeline engraved on the kind of table with water spilling down. The Greyhound bus station in Montgomery. which was the site of a protest where a group of people were riding on the bus, a mixture of black and whites, to basically test the law about segregation on buses, where black people had to sit at the back and give up seats to whites in the front or something like that. And at this point they arrived here apparently, and a mob set about them because the police conveniently didn't turn up for half an hour or something of that kind. So after this we're going to go to the site where a lady rode on the bus deliberately in a white only seat, and that was in the early 50s. This event though I think was in the 60s. And this is kind of the main square of Montgomery, looking up towards the Capitol building at the end of Dexter Street. And apparently this was the site way back in the 19th century where slaves would be brought to be sold. The centre of a lot of things, I guess. Roads coming in from all directions, sort of mixture of modern and old buildings all around. It's a lovely sunny day, but actually not that warm, so it's very easy to walk around. We're down now at the Alabama River, having walked through downtown, and there's like a little river boat here that's used for pleasure cruises. But what's caught our attention here is we're obviously above the river here, looking at the boat, but there's a marker showing just how high the river came. I'm not sure how long ago. The top of that pole. So that's 58 feet. Well, yes, it says 58 feet and 1 inch above the current level. And a view downriver. The boat's still in shot, I think. Walking towards a road bridge over it. And a river walk. Up above me, directly ahead now is the train station. Train line going on. Still trains working on that. We're on the way now from Montgomery to Macon in Georgia, and we stopped at a place called Juliet, which was a kind of dying little town back in the 90s, and then they used it as a film set for the film Fried Green Tomatoes, and as part of that they created a cafe, and it's once all the film crews had left, and the town kind of had a resurgence with visitors coming to see the location. The cafe is still working. It's right next to the railway. You can see trains going past. Here's the courthouse. Presumably that was here before the actual filming started. And it's very busy. There's lots of cars parked here, but there's little houses and stuff of that kind, which are now of course mostly gift shops, as you can imagine. And here's the end of the train actually coming past. 2 engines at the back, right next to where the town is. People have had to wait probably about 10 minutes to cross that. And here's a view of practically the whole little village. Looking back up where those people are is about the beginning. This is a correction. That's the Whistle Stop Cafe that was probably built for the film set, and the thing next door to it was probably pre-existing. Well, just before we stop at our hotel in Macon, we've called into a national park, which is on the site of buildings or sort of mounds that were put here by the so-called Mississippi people or Mississippians. So this is like 1,000 to 2,000 years ago. So they built these mounds, some for living in, some of the smaller ones. I'm not sure what the large ones were, perhaps they built on them. But it's pretty toppers of the tree line here. You get lovely views around. As I swing round, that's Macon in the distance. I guess we're staying roughly in that kind of area.